All right. Welcome on in to another action-packed and live edition of the Between the Hashmarks Podcast. As always, I'm Matt Lombardo, joined by my friend, colleague, mentor, the purveyor of the Two Deep Zone on Ghost. Mike Tanier is here. Michael, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you. I know you're getting ready. You're packing for a big trip here, and we want to talk about it in a minute, but thanks for scratching out the time for the podcast, man.
Of course, it's appointment viewing, it's appointment television, it is all of those things. We've got the bags packed, we're ready to roll. A few stops are locked in, a few are still kind of to be determined out there in the ether. We're going to get into all of that and a whole lot more. A little bit of housekeeping, though. If you enjoy the podcast, please go ahead and subscribe in the Apple Podcast Store, on iHeartRadio. You can check us out on the Alexa app. Leave us those 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts because they do help grow the show. They help audiences find us. And as always, if you enjoy Mike Tanier's work, the firebrand storytelling, the unique blend of deep analytics dives and superhero jokes and dad jokes and comparisons, subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Ghost. And of course, you can subscribe to Between the Hashmarks as well. If you enjoy my in-depth features, insider reporting, news, notes, and nuggets, check out betweenthehashmarks.com. Mike, I'm looking forward to this because we've done a lot of talking and ramping up and leading up to training camp. Yeah. But news is breaking, injuries are happening, holdings are happening, signings are happening. It's a big day, a big week across the NFL.
It's a big day. We've had a couple of news stories break today on Tuesday, August 4th. And you're getting ready. And I know, by the way, 6 news items are going to break while you are driving. You know that's going to happen, right?
In addition to the 3 or 4 really big news items that are going to happen in the next 45 to 50 minutes when we're recording the pod, it's a tale as old as time. When you can least afford news to break, that's when it happens for beat writers and reporters. It's just a hazard of doing business.
Yes, and when you're in Baltimore, news will happen everywhere except Baltimore. And the moment you drive up I-95 and out of Baltimore, Lamar Jackson will get a contract extension, and Derrick Henry will pulverize somebody by mistake. I got to ask you something, though, because you're doing this long drive. We'll get into the details a little bit, maybe a little inside baseball. You did a long drive to Florida and back, and you do that regularly.
Yeah.
What's your go-to driving snack?
So I have 2 that I really like, and I have 2 that I would not recommend and suggest that people stay away from.
Interesting. Okay.
As far as driving snacks. But the ones that I like, the essentials, it's a good soft pretzel or 2, whether it's from Philly Soft Pretzel Factory or you fuel up the car at Wawa, you grab a couple of, I'm a sucker for the soft pretzel in the plastic bag that they have at Wawa.
Really?
It's a chewy, soft pretzel, almost like cake texture. And it has like that, almost like a honey coating on it that makes it taste like, it is an elite. I know it gets banged on by a lot of people in the Philadelphia area. Yeah. I'm a fan. I love getting the double soft pretzels. A couple times when I've covered the Super Bowls, I've stuffed like 3 or 4 in the backpack for the flight, for the hotel room, for the hotel snack during Super Bowl week.
Wow, that's as incendiary a take as last year's Saquon Barkley's turkey with yellow mustard and nothing else Wawa sandwich. That's your go-to. Pretzel Factory, man. Pretzel Factory is a good chain around here that makes a better pretzel, in my opinion. But you do you. That's one of them. What else do you like?
The other one, my mom's homemade biscotti. Excellent, top tier, undefeated. Now, not without the almonds. I'm not an almond guy. Okay. So it's the plain biscotti. And when we went down to Disney World this past trip, she baked us a couple dozen little pieces of biscotti, kept us on the road trip. You get back from the parks and you grab a couple of those, snack on them before bed. Those are the 2 go-to for me.
We get some good biscotti from Del Bono's and Severino's around here, a couple of specialty shops. I'm just picturing you dunking biscotti while driving. That's dangerous, man. You can't do that.
Yeah, I just, the wife opens up the container, just reach over and grab it. No dunking necessary.
She don't dunk them for you and hand them to you.
No. If I asked, I'm sure she would, but it'd be a little bit weird.
Wow. Okay, so those are your 2 go-tos. You've got anti-recommendations. You got 0-star Yelp reviews here for what?
0-star, do not recommend the Buc-ee's popcorn or the Buc-ee's cheese curls. Now, don't get me wrong. The cheese curls from Buc-ee's are probably 10,000 times tastier than the regular cheese curls or cheese balls that you buy from the convenience store or the grocery store. They're delicious. I'm not banging on Buc-ee's here. But when you're driving,
Mm-hmm.
and you keep reaching into the cheese curl bag and the extra butter popcorn bag, which isn't butter, but it's some sort of salty type translucent substance, and those start caking on your fingers
Oh, yeah.
as you're trying to drive. It is a suboptimal experience. I made that mistake for the first time driving back this past trip. We won't make that same mistake next time.
You had to wash the wheel off considerably to keep it from being orange, is what you're saying.
And keep my fingers, trying to pull my
It's like,
fingers apart from sticking together in the non-driving hand.
it's dangerous. You're trying to turn the wheel and your hands get stuck. You know, this is terrible. You could Shanahan if you're not careful. What else you got?
Those are those are the do not recommends. The popcorn and the cheese bites. How about you? If you know, you're probably going to be joining me on one of these stops. Ooh,
I
the
keep it
combos.
extremely simple with the combos. Individual, they don't have a lot of stickiness. There's a little more food value than M&Ms. I'll do M&Ms sometimes and stuff like that. But like, you go with these. I got these to get through the Odyssey, thinking that I was going to be like rowing the ship or something like that. And I didn't actually touch them, which is how compelling the movie was. But keeping it very simple. We've got colleagues in the Philly media who are very gummy bear, gummy worm oriented, which I find a little bit odd. This is the right combination of it. Feels like food. It keeps you from getting bored, keeps you from getting hungry, but it doesn't make your hands sticky.
I go with the pizza flavored combos.
Okay.
Those are my go-to. Jeff checks in the comments. Combo cheeses keep the hunger away. I like it.
Yes. I think that was their slogan, wasn't it?
It might have been.
Do you work for combos? Is that what's going on? No, but we might be going together to one of these stops. So I'm not going with you at all these stops. I want to get into that a little bit more, but we have some breaking news today. Some of it broke an hour ago, but some of it broke early enough that it's on our official outline.
Absolutely. The Bijan Robinson contract extension is signed. The hold-in is over. As you noted in the outline, Bijan Robinson gets the bag. This is one of those things where some of the takeaways and the thoughts are that this was expected, right? Yeah. You expected Bijan Robinson to reset the market. You expect Jahmyr Gibbs to be the next domino to fall, maybe in the next couple of minutes, maybe in the next couple of hours, certainly in the next couple of days, given the fact that they share an agency, given the fact that these are two of the premier running backs in the sport.
Yep.
But Mike, the deal itself is kind of obscene, isn't it?
It's high. I mean, it is the market resetting contract. I don't think it's out of control by any stretch of the imagination. It's high. I was just looking right now at like the Falcons, finances, their ledger right now. Guys like Chris Lindstrom make more money than Bijan Robinson. You have a good offensive lineman, et cetera. But we're talking about one of the stars of the game. So it's high. That 75 figure is high. But remember, that's the full value of this thing. It's
the funny money.
It comes in more like 3 years, somewhere around $50-60 million. That seems like a reasonable thing for the running back who's still extremely young, still has his best years in front of him, really has demonstrated he's that high impact guy. And it's a risk management standpoint that I don't think the Falcons are doing anything crazy with.
No, I just look at the dollar value and how it breaks down in different categories, right? Whether it's the guaranteed money, whether it's the AAV. And a couple months ago, I had an agent tell me to look at Devon Achane's deal because that was the market resetting contract at the time. He got $64 million from the Miami Dolphins in total, all in value of the contract. Bijan collects $11 million, more than that, it's 75. So that blows that contract out of the water. But thanks to the rookie wage scale, Jeremiah Love gets $53 million guaranteed because of where he was picked by the Arizona Cardinals. Bijan gets $51 million. But what's wild here is Saquon Barkley's $36 million was the previous most guaranteed money, and Bijan just obliterates that contract.
He just obliterates that. He's at different stages of his career, too. At the time Barkley makes that contract, he's been injured a couple of times. So he's kind of been high, low, and then he gets that deal. This is a younger guy. It's 2 years later, I think, than that deal, or maybe it's 1 year. I might have lost track. And you expect the market to reset, but you're right. The running back market has been so deflated over the years, thanks to analytics, et cetera, which we're making accurate points about things, that it has fallen below the rookie guarantee market. And that means a correction's in place. I think Bijan's starting this. And by the time people listen to this or read this, I'm guessing Gibbs will have signed for like $10 more.
Yeah.
And we now will have a sense, okay, 3 awesome years by a running back who proves they're a difference maker for their team. They've got their team over the barrel because the backup got traded. Both Montgomery and Algiers left. the Lions and the Falcons. So it's like, this is what you're going to have to compensate these guys, this or better. Is there risk? Could these guys suffer an ACL tear or whatever? Yes, that's every player in the NFL. The risk is mitigated and it's reasonable in the cases of guys like Bijan and Gibbs.
For sure. And I think that there is, though, that added risk that gets tacked on to running backs just by nature of the position.
Yeah.
And you and I might disagree a little bit on this. We've debated on the pod before, but I still believe that running backs matter in the right situation. It's situation dependent. Like Saquon in Philly, Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco, Kenneth Walker last season in Seattle. They all played vital roles in their teams getting to, and in Saquon's case and Kenneth Walker's case, winning a Super Bowl. But the situation has to be right? Trevion Henderson, I kind of put in that next tier. His impact on New England last season, Derrick Henry in Baltimore, I thought elevated their offense and kind of exaggerated what they do best. But, the situation has to be right. The rest of the roster has to be ready. So, are the Falcons ever going to make Bijan matter? Is Bijan ever going to matter because of the roster the Falcons have built around him and are still building?
So you're saying, well, the situation's right for Gibbs. Like, this is the guy on this team, right?
Yeah.
Right. But we're looking back at the Falcons, and it's almost like the Falcons are stuck. Like, if they're never going to do anything right, then they can't try anything. So they might as well just pay their best players and try something, because they just always position themselves behind the eight ball. My favorite version of this right now is watching Charles Robinson, who's a lifelong Falcons fan, has worked for a lot of different organizations over the last couple of years, and people are going in his timeline on Blue Sky saying, well, now Bijan's going to face 8-man boxes all the time and say goodbye to his playing time. And it's like, I have news for you. The defenses of the NFL weren't waiting for Bijan Robinson to get paid to put 8-man boxes out there when Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix were the quarterbacks. He has faced them for his entire career. He'll continue to face them. He is part of the solution. But you're right. Well, I made a mistake off air because I thought Kyle Pitts hasn't been paid yet. Kyle Pitts has been paid.
Yeah.
Drake London's been paid. Those are the guys.
Right. That's your core. But this deal in particular, Bijan in particular, at this number, it just feels like and maybe you agree with this, it feels like you're keeping an electrifying talent in place so that fans have something to watch and be excited about, and it offers the illusion of building something.
Right.
But there's just something about that position, and I love Bijan Robinson as a player. I'd pick him up and drop him into 20-25 better situations, and I would talk about him in the same vein as a Jahmyr Gibbs, a Saquon Barkley, a Christian McCaffrey, all those guys. But it feels like you're putting the cart before the horse with this roster here. You're paying a premium for a guy who might be 1A, 1B of the player at his position, at a position where it really only impacts the game when the offensive line is right, when the quarterback is in place. They have some of the other weapons, but I just don't know. Is there a case study for paying the running back before you have the affordable quarterback? Who is it?
Every time you go to the case study, it's bad. It's generally negative. The argument that would be made was you take Bijan and London and Pitts and you combine them and say, we have put all the scaffolding in place for the quarterback. This is the kind of thing a Tua should game manage his way to victory to. This is something a Penix should be able to develop in. The other funny thing I saw this morning when I was looking at Falcons news is one of the fans cited at SI, and they straight-face headline, the best solution right now at quarterback for the Falcons is Matt Ryan, their team president and general manager, Matt Ryan, and that's it. But like, we can talk like we can sit here at our desks and be like, well, yeah, maybe they should have done something else here. If you trade those guys, you're playing like 4D chess, fantasy football, like sit at your desk jockey ball, whatever. You have an empty stadium. You've got every veteran wanting out the door. If you say you've got to play under this like it or lump it, maybe that's the case, but I don't know if that's the best way to run an organization. As it is, 1, 2, 3 really good offensive players. I don't think this makes the Falcons anything, but I think it's better than all the alternatives they left for themselves.
And with Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson, you've tied up $87 million in guaranteed money in two playmakers. And that's fine. That's all well and good. But you got to get a quarterback. And I don't think that there is an Atlanta Falcons fan, or if you injected Matt Ryan with sodium pentothal, who would tell you truthfully that they believe they can win with this quarterback situation. You need to get the quarterback right. It's Saquon Barkley with Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr. all over again in New York. That's just what this feels like to me. Now, maybe they go draft their Daniel Jones next year. Maybe he is the next guy, with Kevin Stefanski there, and they can build and they can have something. I just don't know that I would pay that much money for a luxury position outside of a contending roster without my quarterback being ready to go. I just don't know that I would have done it.
I hear you, but you might wind up saying, well, what else am I going to do? That's kind of, and
Very fair.
I think they've got their Daniel Joneses. That's the problem. They've got like several Daniel Joneses here, and they need something better than a Daniel Jones, which is kind of what the Giants needed and hope they get right now. That was one of the things that broke. Another one, and like we're kind of unprepped for this because like 45 minutes ago or whatever, Zay Flowers, Baltimore Ravens, I believe it was $106 million guaranteed for the Baltimore Ravens. Do you have anything on this besides, wow, that's a lot of money?
Yeah, 4 years, $140 million total, $108 million guaranteed. Well, that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for an offense that's funneled through Derrick Henry in the running game to set everything up in the pass. Rashad Bateman is still there. Mark Andrews is still there for another year. I like Zay Flowers. I think that he's one of these ascending stars at the position. You watch the Ravens, you watch the game on TV, you watch the film, and there's 3, 4, 5 snaps per game where he just gets behind a secondary.
Yeah.
And either it's a game-altering touchdown that turns the tide of a game for the Ravens that him and Lamar connect on, or he gets behind the safeties deep over the top and Lamar never sees him, right? It feels like the talent should make Zay Flowers that S tier, that elite, that top flight wide receiver. But the production feels like it's still always like, hey, he's a rising star. It feels like the Ravens, this is a quintessential bet on production still to come based on his talent.
Yeah, he's not Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. He's not somebody that's like, you're going to get 10 catches, 119 yards, 1 or 2 touchdowns every week like clockwork. He's going to be more boom or bust. You talk about explosive deep plays. You also get explosive short wiggle plays, screen and go type things. That's what he provides. He's somebody who needs a wide receiver too. And that wide receiver too, please don't say Rashad Bateman. The hair in the back of my head stands up. Hearing about Rashad Bateman in Anno Domini 2026 drives me batty. It's never happening. I thought Nelson Aguilar was still on the team. When I was trying to figure out who their later receivers are, I know they picked some guys from the draft. Kid from Indiana is good. But, it's a lot of money for somebody that you're saying this person is going to give us kind of home run or nothing type of thing. But I think it's another situation where you look at the Ravens trying to structure their contracts moving out. The Lamar Jackson contract needs to be extended, and there's no movement on that. You lose Linderbaum, you lose Likely. You have to do something in the offseason, and they wind up doing that by making sure they lock down that explosive guy to complement Jackson and King Henry.
Yeah, and I had eyes on Rashad Bateman in training camp last year, and it seemed like Lamar and Bateman were on the same page. Yeah. It seemed like that was going to be the breakout, that, okay, this passing game is ready to take flight. These guys are locked in, and it just never translated to the field. It never translated to game action, and they're still looking for that wide receiver too, to your point. And Isaiah Likely, we're going to touch on him. He's in New York, right? Bateman, you're still waiting for him to check that box. Mark Andrews is not getting any younger.
Oh, right.
And Zay Flowers, you're going to see more opportunities. You're going to see more deep threats because that's what you're going to have to do in that passing game.
Yeah, I was just looking up Bateman again. I know he was hurt last year. He had 12 starts and he caught 19 passes. He's a Mr. July. He's an all-time Mr. July type of guy. And I think he's listed as a starter right now. And that's a problem that isn't solved by paying Flowers more. You can't make Flowers a different guy or two guys by paying him, or all you can do is lock him in. And, that's what the Ravens have done.
Yeah. And that's kind of a common theme everywhere in that division outside of Cincinnati, right? Outside of the Cincinnati where you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, yes. you kind of have some wide receivers. You have Alpha Dog and some question marks. Are they going to take the next step? And I think that that's going to be something we're going to watch play out in these preseason games on practice fields and those sort of things.
You're going to see some of that very soon. You're going to be in Baltimore, so we'll circle back there. You're going to be in Pittsburgh. Can we talk about where your camp tour is supposed to start, might start, or where should we start?
It was supposed to start in Buffalo, but that's looking unlikely. The communication has kind of fallen through there with my liaisons.
Okay.
Behind the curtain, Insider Baseball.
Yeah.
I'm a weekly guest on an NFL podcast based outside of Western New York, right?
Okay.
And the workaround was going to be those guys go to Buffalo training camp every year. They do a show from there every year. Let's add Matt to the credential list. And for the first time in years, the Bills haven't really gotten back to these guys. So there might have been a tightening of the access in Buffalo, in Western New York. But if Buffalo happened, it's going to be one of those things where I spring up on your timeline on Blue Sky on Thursday, and it's like, hey, Matt's in Buffalo.
Well, one time, years and years and years back, I was trying to get the Jets camp. This was when I was in Cortland, New York. And even though it was 13 years ago, they were playing access games. And I was with Sports on Earth, which was actually USA Today. So that should have been kind of a slam dunk. But there was all this rigmarole because I had to go. My editor had to request. They said, we'd never heard of your operation before. My editor had to get a senior editor at USA Today in. And I got word on it was a Friday morning, 9 a.m. camp, Thursday, 4:59 p.m. You're approved. And my kids were little. You know this thing with the kids being little at the time.
Yeah.
I turned to my wife and said, if I don't show up after this, they won. I don't mean to be adversarial about this, but some of this access gatekeeping can feel a little adversarial sometimes, especially for those of us who don't have athletic, ESPN, New York Times muscles.
And if you blow them off, if you leave that credential sitting at the table, you're done. You're essentially blacklisted forever. Future years in training camp, you ain't getting in.
Yeah, you wasted our time. We went through all the trouble of having a 19-year-old intern go dit and print this out for you. That took seconds, and now you wasted our time with it. So you get a flat tire or something like that. We don't want to hear it. So that next morning, I got up and I woke up at like 4:45 a.m. to drive from the Philadelphia area up through the New York area into like the Finger Lakes to go to Cortland. It's a good thing I did because you know what I saw.
What did you see on that day? I think I know where this is going, but what did you see?
Make your guess.
Tim Tebow in the rain?
Yes!
Boom!
Boom! Excellent guess. I'm getting predictable with my old man stories here. The three greatest experiences I saw live covering it for sports. Derek Jeter's 3,000th hit.
Wow.
Got to see that with the New York Times. The Philly special. And shirtless Tebow in the rain. Life-changing.
An iconic Jets moment in New York Jets history.
Yes. So you could go up there and see shirtless Josh Allen. Maybe not the same, maybe better. I don't know.
I could see DJ Moore and how that connection is budding with Josh Allen. I could see shirtless James Cook, running between the A gap. I could see that.
You can see all these guys with their jerseys and actually do your job properly and not have this weird sort of like game within a game thing happening. And I know there's good food up there near their camp in Rochester, so you can have a lot of fun with that. But let's say that like this could be a thing that doesn't work out. Your first stop is going to be Latrobe, Pennsylvania, correct?
Latrobe, Pennsylvania, the shadow of the old Rolling Rock Brewery.
Yes.
No longer brewed in Latrobe, but we will be in Latrobe on Friday. Looking forward to getting out there. Beautiful scene for Latrobe. And this is a great time if you're on the fence about subscribing to Between the Hashmarks. It's a great time to get involved. Become a paid premium subscriber. We're going to do the live postcard from practice. 3 or 4 big quick hitting takeaways. What we saw on the field. You and I might hop on a quick 10, 15-minute video podcast. I know I'm springing this on you now, but we might do that again. And then Monday in 4 Downs, we're going to have a complete in-depth feature on a rising star or something that I saw, something we sink our teeth into talking to people in Latrobe after practice. That'll be one of the leads in Monday's 4 Downs column. So go to betweenthehashmarks.com, subscribe, monthly subscriber, annual subscriber. Great time to support independent journalism and lock in some of the best coverage you'll see from me this summer.
It's a great place to go. I used to love going out to Latrobe. There are some good, fun places to eat and drink. You got that old seminary building there in the shadow of that. It's a lot of fun. You get in there to work, though, putting aside the quarterback right now. And what are you looking at? We talked a little about the receivers just now, but what are you looking for when you're out there?
I'm going to be zeroed in on the receivers, actually, because I'm focusing on how that group is shaping up and how is Aaron Rodgers
Mhm.
able to connect with DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman as far as stretching the field goes, because that feels like that's the type of receiving core they're building around. And, Drew Aller is garnering a lot of hype. There's a lot of like positive videos from, people watching practice. And I'm interested to see what kind of progress he's making, because I have this theory
Yes.
that, people have asked me on Blue Sky, are the Steelers tanking? There's just
What?
too much talent on defense for them to be tanking. They're not tanking. You don't bring Aaron Rodgers back to tank, right? You don't spend that kind of money to bring Rodgers back to tank. It's just not what they're doing, right?
They brought in like 5 veterans on defense.
Yes.
It's like Bijan's going to see 8-man boxes now. As in previously, where teams didn't know Bijan was good, now they know he's good. That's the level. That's a very bad take there. They're not tanking. But you're right.
No.
I think the chemistry with Metcalf has been pretty well set. But when you talk about stretching the field, that ain't what Michael Pittman Jr. does. He is not a field stretcher. Roman Wilson was supposed to be that guy. And then I look at some of these other guys. I actually like Jeremy Bernard. That's their second round pick. Another guy I don't think of as a field stretcher. He's not a little. He's a tough guy, working the middle, working short stuff, and like anything for the team, like a blocker type of guy.
Yak, 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 those sort of things.
Yeah, yak, 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 and let's get it done. 3rd and 4. Here's the 5-yard catch. I think of him. I don't have Caden Wetjohn. I think he's a return man by trade. I don't know who some of these guys are. There's some veterans on the bench there. It will be interesting to see how those guys are rotating in and working in.
Right. And I don't buy the Steelers tanking theory, but what I think might be happening kind of behind the scenes, especially if Aller is turning heads on the practice field, is this year might be the let's rebuild Drew Aller. We know the arm strength is there. We know that he can throw the ball, deep downfield. We've seen that on film, but we got to strip everything else down to the studs from how he was the number 1 high school quarterback in America in his recruiting class. And we're doing this with Rodgers on the field with this group of receiving cores that he might not be built to maximize.
Right.
I kind of want to see what Aller looks like at this stage of his development, because if he makes big strides this year, you might be talking about him walking into an offense that they built for him next year. Like, Nick Foles was a 3rd-round pick. Russell Wilson was a 3rd-round pick. Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick. You don't need to be that number 1 first-round quarterback to be the guy. They might be taking the Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers plan with Drew Aller and building an offense for him, but putting Aaron Rodgers into the driver's seat of it this year.
Any chance you're going to get a little time with Drew Aller? You have some relationships within his college program?
Yeah, that might happen. So stay tuned for that. We'll see if that's the in-depth feature or something for later on. But we're going to try to connect with him. And I do want to talk to Jeremy Bernard, because I think that he's a really intriguing guy. He could elevate to be that number 1 or number 2 wide receiver in a year or two. He feels like he's a guy who's going to climb the depth chart based on his skill set, based on the size that you talked about, big catch radius. I want to see what he looks like on the field against that secondary.
Right, and he's one of those guys who finds a way to contribute, which I always find interesting, where it's like 5 or 6 years from now, it's like, oh, he's like Kendrick Bourne or somebody. It's like, oh, he's still in the league. He wound up on a playoff team. He made the big catch when it needed. That kind of guy. That's very cool. Now, when you go there to Latrobe, I believe there's a place called Stop and Eat. Stop.
Okay. Eden Park. Eden Park is the spot.
Eden Park. Get a slice of the pie.
Okay.
Okay, whichever flavor pie. I know you can't eat chocolate, but there's other flavors of pie there that you like. And I just warn you about the bar scene there. I mean, they're very Western Pennsylvania bars. There was one, it might not still be there, that was in somebody's basement.
Oh, that's wild.
You have to go into you might have to do some aggressive searching on your Google map, but you drive into the neighborhoods of Latrobe up to the top of the hill. You go in and it looks like somebody's like backyard, but there's like 30 parking spaces, and you go downstairs there and it's all decorated in Steelers, Penguins, Pirates stuff. And there's pierogies. I did not just bomb in on a random family.
That's what I'm picturing. You're just like walking, sitting down at the dinner table. Hey, I'm Mike.
Right, and then just roll with it.
Let's go Steelers.
Yeah, go Steelers. Here's some kibasi. Here's some pierogies. No, it wasn't like that. So you can have a good time out there. And if you're not driving from Rochester, you might not be insane by the time you arrive.
Yeah, and I forget the name of the establishment, but I might try to go back to this very little microbrewery
Oh,
about like 3 miles outside of the practice fields.
okay.
They had an outrageously good chicken quesadilla, an outrageously good blonde coffee stout that I
Yeah,
still remember drinking from when I was out there after practice last year. But I might be able to be swayed into this like Steelers basement
see if it's
pierogi
there.
situation
See, it's but
if
8 or
it's
9
there.
years ago was the last time. See if it was there. That would be cool. Microbrewery sounds cool. I wound up in like a Bubba Shot the jukebox place. I'm not gonna
Nice.
not gonna denigrate it. It was kind of cool in its own way, but it was like, when Rolling Rock is the best beer on tap, you might not be. It might not have been the place for me. Now from there, it's actually not that bad a drive. Now that I
No,
think about it, to Owings Mills, a place where there's no place fun.
no.
Basically, a suburb where like the most fun might be a Chipotle,
Yeah.
but there's Ravens camp.
Ravens camp, Owings Mills. Looking forward to it. Was back down there last year. Another great setting. Their practice facility, man. It's like you're walking into a castle, like a
Yes.
Baltimore Ravens brick castle.
Yes.
It's just a great scene. It pops up out of nowhere. You're in the middle of the woods, and you're like, "Whoa, look at that! How did that thing get dropped in here?" But I'm excited. I'm excited to see the Ravens, and I want to get eyes on their front seven and how it's coming together, how that front seven is matching up good on good against Lamar Jackson and that defense. Because remember, Trey Hendrickson's there now.
Yeah.
So you're probably getting Nnamdi Madubuike back. So you get those two. Defense is loaded on all three levels with game-changing type of difference makers. How much havoc can that defense create? And then what's the situation at center looking like? Because
Yeah.
how's the interior holding up with an all-pro like Tyler Linderbaum, a centerpiece, a pillar of the whole offensive line, no longer there, now a Las Vegas Raider? Those are the position groups that I'm going to have eyes on Saturday.
And you'll probably have your eyes on a particular offensive guard that you might have some.
Little Nick Dawkins action, little Purple Thunder. I might dap him up on the way
And
onto the
Central
practice
Perk
from that.
and Vega Ione.
And Vega, yeah, those two.
Yeah, it is. Whenever I went to see Ravens, even when Lamar was absolutely peak Lamar, it always looked like the defense was 10 steps ahead of the offense. That might be the case there. But yeah, you take a guy like Hendrickson, you take a guy like Zion Young, they're more interesting pass rushers. In the past, they had good pass rushers who were just like monsters who like wanted to hit. And in practice, you don't always see that because it's not always 110% against a teammate. These guys with the speed and the quickness and the moves and the spins and things like that, that's what they've got this year. And that's what's going to be interesting.
And Mike Green never quite translated last year during his rookie season. But just talking to people in that building that day when I was in Baltimore for training camp last year, they were raving about Mike Green. Like they thought he was going to be that Fletcher Cox type of interior havoc creator. So now you have Zion Young, Trey Hendrickson, and if Mike Green takes a step in the middle, I mean, look out, man. That's a really formidable defensive front that you're going to be throwing at some, really good offenses in the AFC North.
Right. I remember his college tape was amazing. And he did just kind of vanish. I think it was an injury. I'm not necessarily sure. Sometimes those super speedy, quick guys, they don't translate. There's a little bit of a rude awakening against NFL blocking as well. But, all right, so you go down there. You're going to watch that. You're going to hang out at the castle. You probably go to the Green Turtle. There's a Green Turtle about miles away, and that's perfectly acceptable. Green Turtle, we will accept the sponsorship. You're okay.
I do like the Green Turtle. A college girlfriend had a family at a house in Rehoboth Beach. First stop was always Green Turtle. Great spot. I'm in. Lock Green Turtle for lunch after practice.
So you have really positive Green Turtle memories from this, like fun, youthful memories.
The food.
Because you were there with your college girlfriend and her parents.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I'm surprised you have not disavowed yourself of the Green Turtle forever, because I can kind of respect that a little bit. I can't set foot in a Ruby Tuesdays for similar reasons. I think they're defunct, though. I think that they were driven out of business by my bad memories. Now I'm going to put you on the spot here because you see the Steelers, you see the Ravens, and obviously you're going to know more in like 4 or 5 days. Right now, who are you picking to win the AFC North?
I'm going with the Bengals.
All right.
I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals because I think that this is the year it comes together for them, right?
Okay.
I still think that Joe Burrow is the best pure pocket passer, the best quarterback operating within the confines of a system. He's as clutch as anyone in the league, not named Patrick Mahomes. And you trade for Dexter Lawrence, so you fill a big need there. And I'm really bullish on Boy Mafe. I loved what he did in a rotational role with the Seahawks. I thought he was a high energy, downhill, high motor pass rusher.
Yes.
Punches above his weight and an expanded role. And as always, right? As always, it comes down to Joe Burrow staying healthy, which it always has in Cincinnati. That's always been the knock on the Bengals and what lowers their ceiling, because Burrow's career completion percentage above 68%, 91.8 overall grade from Pro Football Focus last season, second best in the NFL in 2025. 6 fourth quarter comebacks, 11 game-winning drives, and 43 career victories. Now, wins aren't a quarterback's stat, but when you're stacking comeback wins, fourth quarter drives, I look at that as a testament to the quarterback. And he has a better than 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, which is kind of outrageous in terms of what quarterbacks are in this league. Better offensive line, more balanced offense, better playmakers on defense. You put him in a situation like, a handful of contending rosters around the league, he might have multiple rings right now. I feel like he's one of those guys who's been held back by injuries and an unbalanced roster and situation around him to date in his career.
And the fact that you're stuck in the AFC and you're always going into a championship game against a Mahomes or a playoff game against one of these other guys. Easiest schedule in the NFL, the Bengals per DVOA, per the FTN Almanac, which is on sale now wherever you buy almanacs. I got to remember to put down.
Don't get it. 9 teams by Mike Tanier in the FTN Almanac. Don't shortchange yourself. 9 teams.
So much so that it's actually only 8, but I'll take 9. I'll take credit for some of these other guys I've influenced so much. I'm such an influence that I might as well have written the chapter. But there's low-lying. It's so horrible. My God. Can we cut that? I sound like a douchebag. Wait, we don't have an editor. Okay, let's go on. There's a lot of low-lying fruit here. You see the Dolphins, I see the Titans, the Commanders, the Saints, the Browns. I'm not saying these are all wins, but these are all a bunch of games where you go out there with your big three, play adequate defense, you should be able to get wins. The Buccaneers, that's who they open with. The common opponents that they have against, the different opponents from the Steelers and Ravens, they've got easier draws than all those teams. Like, I think one time the Steelers get the Patriots, while the Bengals get the Dolphins. That's a difference. Yeah. Like, that's a freaking difference that you get there. That could turbocharge them into winning that division.
Oh, no doubt about it. And I think that, it all comes down to the quarterback. And if I'm looking at the AFC North, I'm taking Joe Burrow over anyone. Lamar Jackson gives you more upside because of the athleticism, and I think he's made incredible strides as a passer. And you get the package deal with Derrick Henry, which just opens up him for even more explosive plays. Right. But I just think that in terms of in the clutch, in the postseason, when the chips are down, I'm taking Joe Burrow over just about anybody not named Patrick Mahomes.
That's not an unusual take, and I can see it. But we're not going to Cincinnati. But both of us might. Now, you get to go home after this and go and rest up a little bit. At some point, we're going to try and get up to Giants camp.
Yes.
There's plenty to look for. Now, to be clear, we're not going to West Virginia. Unfortunately, that sounds like fun, but they're wrapping up down there. We'll be taking the easier trip up to the Meadowlands. A lot to look for there. What would you be looking for?
Yeah, after I pick you up and after we, drive into the swamps of Jersey and North Jersey.
You're picking me up? I didn't know that. You're driving down to pick me up? No, you're not. We're driving up separately.
We'll meet up somewhere. We'll meet at one of the... No need to take 2 cars. What are we doing here? So one of the many stops on the Jersey Turnpike, we'll get our coffees and we'll do the thing. I want to see how this passing game is shaping up. Because Malik Neighbors, he's on the field doing some things at the Greenbrier. Is he a full go? What are we seeing at this point from Malik Neighbors at that point in training camp? How far in the rear view has he left the Achilles injury? But what's behind him? Is Isaiah likely becoming the guy that we thought that he was going to be behind Mark Andrews in Baltimore? Who's wide receiver 3 behind Darius Slayton? Right. What is the passing game looking like for Jackson Dart? What's his supporting cast building up to be?
Is OBJ going to be out there with the second team, like just like a regular backup wide receiver running routes? Or are they going to put him on the bicycle because it's like you are who you are at this point in his career? You remember back in the day, he used to love putting on a show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, I was a beat writer up there, and the amount of times when, like, they would be doing quasi-individual drills, and you'd see Odell jump, like, 8 feet in the air and bring down a one-handed catch just because of he could. I remember.
Yeah, he loved doing that. Is there more of that? And, like, again, I'm curious what we're doing with this Malik Neighbors thing, because I feel like we're being sold a bill of sale a little bit on how healthy he really is. I've seen enough of John Harbaugh to know he's going to really control what everyone sees and what everyone hears. And then week 1, we might hear, 4 games on the IR or whatever. I definitely want to see that. I want to see Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
This is not a established quarterback. Just like, well, we know what he looks like. What's he look like right now? What's the development? What does he look like in this Matt Nagy offense? How are they practicing? How are they running things? It's another thing I want to take a look at.
I'll go one step further here. On the other side of the ball, I want to see what the pass rush is looking like. Because last summer, it was the Abdul Carter Wrecking Ball tour, right? And I remember talking to Carl Banks for the Monday feature after that leg of the training camp tour, just talking about the impact he was going to make and how transcendent a talent is and the impact he's having on the entire building. Well, now you get Arvell Reese, too. And you still have Brian Burns. And Kayvon Thibodeau is floating around as that pass rusher for that, guy who's going to contribute some snaps in some form or fashion. What's the rotation looking like? Right. What's Abdul Carter look like going into year 2? And Arvell Reese, how much of a difference is he going to make on that front 7? And do we get to see that old Steve Spagnuolo NASCAR package where you throw all these guys out there on third down and say, go out, get after the quarterback? Because if that's the plan, I think it could be fun to watch the Giants this year.
I think they're a bunch of wrecking balls. And that's one of those things where, it's going to be like 50, 55 sacks. I would love to see it in practice, though. The one concern would be I could imagine them dialing stuff back in practice so the offense has a freaking chance against these guys. It's not like
apparently that's not happening in the Greenbrier, because a couple of the Giants reporters I remain friendly with and follow on social, they keep talking about how rough day for the offense because of Abdul Carter, or brutal day for Jackson Dart in the rain because of Arvell Reese. It just seems like you talk about the defense being ahead of the offense. Like you might want to, if you're John Harbaugh, throw the 1s against the 3s. Just get some confidence going.
Right. Hey, it's a rest day for Brian Burns. Carter, you're right, because it was like he was a wrecking ball in camp. Then he decided to take some naps during meetings and stuff like that. Something happened there. He might have had a little bit of a maturity thing. Brian Daboll might have gotten some guys to tune out. We're not really sure exactly what happened there. By the end of the season, he was back. It sounds like he's fully back with the program right now. And that could be amazing. That combination with these other guys could be absolutely devastating.
No doubt about it. And you have a great column coming out. When's it dropping? Tomorrow? Friday?
Tomorrow. It should be tomorrow.
Okay.
And I call it Camp Notes for Sickos because that's what it is. It's Camp Notes for Sickos. I try to get to the side.
Present company included. Sickos alike for you and I.
Folks, if you're a sicko, subscribe to Between the Hashmarks, subscribe to the Too Deep Zone. It is coverage for sickos. But I wanted to zig a little bit where everyone else is zagging, or so to speak, and not necessarily cover the Bijan contract and say, oh, Bijan's good and that's a lot of money. Do some other things. We're talking about the Giants where the defense had the offense. I went to some other camps in my mind, in my search engine, and et cetera. Talk about defenses being ahead of the offenses. I went to Texans camp and I did a real deep dive on what's going on there with their local beat writers, et cetera. And they just added Jadeveon Clowney. I was ripping you for talking about maybe they'll get Aaron Donald. I was like, why? And while Clowney's not Aaron Donald, they went out and got Jadeveon Clowney, who is going to be their second pass rusher off the bench, so to speak, and just turbocharge their defense even more.
Yeah, in the outline you said, why Jadeveon Clowney? And have you ever seen Animal House? You had to have seen Animal House, the movie, right? Why Pinto? Why not? Right? That's my viewpoint here on Jadeveon Clowney. Why not? Right? He was the 18th ranked edge rusher by Pro Football Focus last year. Wow. He had 40 pressures. He had 8.5 sacks for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, obviously, Will Anderson Jr. and Daniel Hunter, premier pass rush duo in the sport. 30 teams would trade their pass rush situation to have those two. And they're dominant, don't get me wrong. But outside of those two, the Texans only generated 20 total sacks, and Derek Barnett and his 5.5 sacks ain't there no more. Danico Autry ain't there no more. So I think guys like you and me, certainly casual fans, will get lost in the dominance of Hunter and Anderson off the edge. That, you start to think about, what are we doing with those 20, 25, 30 snaps when Hunter's getting a blow or Anderson is catching his breath or it's a sub package. Jadeveon Clowney's not a bad sub package edge rusher to have as a luxury piece at a premium position.
Right. He's similar to Danico Autry at this stage of his career. I think their games are somewhat similar there. You're right. Hunter is not young anymore. He's going to need possibly more spelling along the way. And you can move inside Clowney. You can move him inside on some pack very effectively. He's a bigger pass rusher, etc. Yeah, 8.5 very quiet sacks last year, because I think people just tuned out of the Cowboys. Was some of that low-lying fruit, like, oh, we got the backup quarterback, whatever. There was a little bit of that in the mix. You're talking about 3rd and 10 package. You're talking about 3rd and 15 NASCAR, like you're talking about. I get it. It's just a matter of overkill. But
they're gonna beat you with a sledgehammer. That's just what they're gonna do. Yeah. And talk about teams that could have used Jadeveon Clowney. Just look at the NFC North. I'm kind of stunned. And I talked to some people today. The Green Bay Packers didn't even kick the tires on Jadeveon Clowney. Never even a phone call. The Chicago Bears, cursory conversations, but it wasn't going to happen now. It was one of those, hey, we'll put you on our emergency list. If we need a guy, we'll give you a call. To me, that was just kind of stunning, because they didn't do anything to upgrade opposite of Montez Sweat. And the Green Bay Packers are piecing together a pass rush with hope, prayers, and duct tape until Micah Parsons comes off of the PUP list. Jadeveon Clowney was sitting out there and they don't even make a phone call. Just surprising to me. I like the fit in terms of Jadeveon Clowney's role in Houston. Just kind of surprised. A lot of teams were involved. I mean, there might have been a dozen teams from what I was told in the mix. Just shocked that neither one of those teams kicked the tires.
Exactly. And this is a guy, I mean, I don't know. He goes from team to team. It seems like everybody wants him on that 1-year deal because he might not always be the most 100% focused guy along the way. But that's what you're looking for. If you're the Bears, that's what you're looking for. Come in for 1 year, chase a ring with us. You're the Packers. Come in for 1 year. Give us 5 or 6 really, really good games, and then you can roll into a reserve role. But of course, as we talk about often on this show, remember, the Packers roster is perfect, except that they really need to pursue every single free agent that possibly comes down the line. Another thing I'm talking about tomorrow, by the way, went and tried to see what the heck was going on at the Raiders camp with Fernando Mendoza. And you know what's going on with Fernando Mendoza? Nothing. He does not appear to be seriously making any sort of challenge towards Kirk Cousins being the starter down there. And I'm going to talk a little bit tomorrow about why that's not a big deal, but it's kind of a big deal, because there should be a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? But ambition, propulsion, momentum behind the first overall pick going out there and putting a challenge and putting some heat under somebody whose name is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, this is one that I don't care that in the first week of training camp he's not making a ton of progress, because I don't think that anybody planned on Fernando Mendoza being a draft plug-and-play week 1 starter, if he even plays at all as a rookie this season, right? Because why would you go out and sign Kirk Cousins if you were going to turn the reins over to Fernando Mendoza? Go get Cooper Rush for all I care, right? but if you're bringing Kirk Cousins, and he's a lot of things. He's not a lot of things. So a lot of things that he's not at this stage of his career. But what he is, he's a competent veteran quarterback who can install Clint Kubiak's system. He can get Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty and all of these guys on the same page, running the system, running the scheme at the level it's supposed to be ran at, so that in December, when they're 5 games out of the playoffs, you can throw Mendoza out there, or you can throw Mendoza out there week 1 next year. I can't get – there are a lot of things about the Raiders I'm fascinated by, right? Like, how's the defense going to come together with Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker and all these additions they made in the draft? How's the kid they drafted at corner? How's he coming off of the injury? What kind of value is he giving them? But the quarterback situations, okay, Kirk Cousins is there. He is what he is.
It's a nothing burger for the start of the season, because I think we all penciled in Cousins. and that makes sense. It's really just the vibe I get. Like, even when you have, because a couple of years ago it was Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix, and
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins won the job initially and played till he got hurt, and then Penix came in late in the year. But during the course of the camp, there was lots of talk about Penix. I was like, he's pushing. He does this thing better. He does that thing better. We can go back to pretty much any old broken down guy versus young guy competition that's ever happened. And the old broken down guy often was somebody like an Andy Dalton or Kirk Cousins who had thousands of yards, or Joe Flacco. There's always propulsion behind the new guy. He's going to start the season on the bench, but really we're just holding him back, until the bye or whatever. That's usually the messaging. The messaging, again, I know it's August 4th, but the messaging is like, well, whatever, how long it takes. That doesn't sound right. That sounds like Mendoza is at such a level that everyone's like, yeah, let's really, really take our time with this. That's a little bit of not a red flag, not even a yellow flag. It's a little bit of a little white flag that's waving the circle in my brain about this situation.
Are you surprised, though? Because if we go back to March and April and we go back to what this quarterback class was in reality, not what it was in theory last year when we talked about what Aller and Kate Klubnik and Mendoza and all these guys were going to be, but what it was basically, hey, Fernando Mendoza's the best quarterback in this class, right? But like he's the guy in a class, right?
That's it. That's the way I felt about it too. It's like, well, there is nothing wrong with him. This is a sturdy insert and play. I guess I thought of him as somebody who was game ready and ultra competitive, and I'm not thinking about him anymore. It's just that there is this weird vibe around it. The thing is, you mentioned some of these guys. I'm hearing more about Ty Simpson than I'm hearing about Fernando Mendoza. Now, part of that is probably a concerted effort by McVay and his tendrils to make sure there's a shine on this person because they got some criticism. I've heard more about Klubnik. I've been heard more about Kate Klubnik and how he's pushing and things like that. And he's not good. He's not a good quarterback. Okay,
it's the Jets though, but it's the Jets, and it's Geno Smith, right? Like if you told me on September 1st that Kate Klubnik won the starting job away from Geno Smith, I would believe that a lot more likely than I believe Fernando Mendoza beating out Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins to me is a known commodity. Kirk Cousins to me is a veteran. Geno Smith. He is what he is.
Last 3 years, Geno was better than Kirk Cousins. He was. He was. I'm not imagining things. Well, not last year, but like in the previous years before that in Seattle. So, and I'm not wishing anything on anyone, but you're right. It's the Jets. And I think Jets reporters smell something enthusiastic about, hey, Klubnik might be the guy. And you can listen to the name, Klubnik. That's not the guy. That's the name of a character in a Mel Brooks movie, okay? He's Dark Helmet's sidekick, Klubnik. That's what. So he's not the guy, but you can hear that. It's just weird that you get these things. You and I, who are bathing in this stuff, 13 hours a day all week, are hearing almost nothing about Mendoza. I get his scouting report. I get Cousins. It does seem a little odd how quiet it is in his corner.
For sure. And the final situation that you're teasing for the column, and I know there's a lot more to come within it, the wide receiver situation in Washington. And this is why you go on the training camp tour, because if you remember, Terry McLaurin was holding in when I went to Ashburn, Virginia last year. And it was a Saturday morning. And who comes sauntering down after practice out of the facility, walking down the mile-long hill to the practice field? But Terry McLaurin, and he dapped up Joshua Harris, and they were chatting. And 10 days later, there was a contract in place.
Right.
But their wide receiver situation is kind of gnarly going into this year.
Right. First of all, McLaurin's coming off a weak year, which maybe we can write off to not having a training camp, et cetera.
And having you and I throwing to him for 6 or 7 games.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. But I'm reading a lot of the beats out of there. I'm keeping a track of a lot of the experts in Washington world. And I'm reading things like Van Jefferson is turning heads, or Traylon Burks is turning heads. And they're like, these guys should be in the UFL. If you are talking up the idea that your wide receiver too, now Luke McCaffrey's there. I have heard a few positive things, but I'm not hearing a lot of breakout stuff. And I wrote on Monday about how eager people are to write the breakout, right? About the Keon Coleman's of the world. He's ready for the breakout. So is Xavier Legette. So is Ricky Pearsall until the substation got him.
So is Matthew Golden.
So is Matthew Golden. Oh my gosh, he's already in the Hall of Fame right now. My gosh, this roster for the Packers is perfect. We better pursue every free agent on the market. You're not getting that around McCaffrey. Instead, you're getting about Van Jefferson, who's been on 4 teams in the last 3 years. You're getting that about Treylon Burks, who literally, I forget who I was reading, it might have been Ben Standig, where it's like, Burks has been looking really good. He might be wide receiver 2. Oh, by the way, he pulled a hamstring. He's out for a couple of days. It's like, if your positive guy is your hurt guy, that's the problem. And we're looking at Jaden Daniels, who apparently looks great. I mean, he's healthy. He's fine. They seem confident. Who's going to be wide receiver 2 on this team where wide receiver 1 is coming off of a bad year? And that's something that has me really keeping my eye on the Commanders. Like, are they comfortable with the idea that they went from first to worst and they're supposed to try to be bouncing back this year?
Yeah, and it's not like there's a whole lot of depth there. It's not. I mean, that seems more wide open. Like, you're asking me who wide receiver 3 is, or even wide receiver 2. Maybe it's Stephon Diggs. I don't know that there's a better fit out there in terms of need and skill set. Now that Deebo Samuel goes back to play the Ricky Pearsall role, who was playing the Mike Evans role in San Francisco. Yes. So now that Debo is gone out of the picture, maybe it's Stephon Diggs. But if you're talking about a guy in-house, I remember talking to people last year on the sideline about Luke McCaffrey. There was optimism paired with skepticism. There was, hey, they're trying to get him the ball to show him opportunities to get him to take the leap, but he's not taking the leap. Like, this feels like that's one of those situations where they want Luke McCaffrey to be the guy, but the more you give him the chance, the more you might find out that Luke McCaffrey is just a guy. The name that I would watch, Jalen Lane, made a lot of plays in summer last year, kind of the August darling of the preseason. Lane was somebody who made a couple big catches the day I was there in red zone drills and stuff like that. A lot of optimism from the beats, a lot of optimism from people within the building, but only 16 catches, 225 yards. He played in 15 games, just never cracked the rotation in a very bad wide receiver rotation. So that leaves me a little skeptical. But if there's somebody I think is going to make a leap, I feel like Lane has the traits to do it. It's just, is he going to do it?
Yeah, I think Lane definitely does have those traits. But then it's like, okay, he's wide receiver 2. Who's wide receiver 3? You're still on that same bet. I like the idea of Diggs because Diggs is 32, which is the perfect age for a Commanders acquisition. They got our old buddy Rasul Douglas a couple weeks ago. They figured we're not old enough at cornerback with Rasul Douglas here. We have to go get Fabian Moreau, who played for Washington back before they were even the football team, back when they had the slur name. And like, he's back. He's had like 1 interception in the last 5 years. He's 32. Quinn was talking him up, and I'm like, what are we even doing here with this team that continually adds 30-somethings every time? Did Adam Peters not update his portfolio from when he was in San Francisco? That like we're now 3 years behind and we don't know how old these guys are? If this is where you are in the secondary, get the undrafteds to go battle it out and recognize that that's probably your best bet. Not having number 2 Russell Douglas and number 3 Foster Moreau as your cornerbacks.
Yeah, and I was all in on Adam Peters after the Jaden Daniels draft, and it seemed like they did a lot of really nice things building up that roster. Heck, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl last year. That kind of blew up in my face. But the continual, hey, let's go sign 30-something player at skill position X, or let's go sign 30-something pass rusher, or let's go and bring in, I get it, bringing in a veteran presence. But eventually, you need to draft well enough, and you need to infuse it with young, rising diamonds in the rough at free agency. And I just don't see that happening in Washington.
Right. We're not talking about Debo and Laramie Tunsil and Von Miller and Bobby Wagner anymore. We're talking about Foster Moreau and guys of this nature who are sort of the journeymen, and you have one of them on your roster to be the stabilizing guy in the room. They seem to be putting 2 or 3 of them at each position there, and it becomes scaffolding. And I always warn people, it's like, oh yeah, you've heard of this guy, so you think he's fine and he's stabilizing. You risk choking up the bottom of that depth chart from anyone bubbling up and churning to the top of the depth chart along the way. These diamonds in the rough type players wind up losing reps to the guy who makes the coaching staff more comfortable. So you have this restrictor plate on how good your team can be. And it may be different when you're 13-3, or it may be different when you're 3-13, 3-14, where it's like, well, we just need some guys because you might just need to start 11 people who know how to play football at that point. But when you're one of these teams that should have aspirations, you have to be very wary of filling your roster with all journeyman after journeyman after journeyman. I don't think Diggs is a journeyman. He's a step up from that, but it's still a compromise solution. If you're going to do that, go get Debo back and at least have somebody who was in the system for a year.
Yeah, and that's why I think Debo fits this situation like a glove, because you have Jaden Daniels coming back. You know what he can do stretching the field with the deep ball. We've seen it. We've seen him do it. You have Terry McLaurin, and you drop in Stephon Diggs. Then you're looking at Luke McCaffrey, De'Ami Brown, Traylon Burks, Jalen Lane battling it out for wide receiver 3. I can at least see it. I can at least see something reliable. I don't know that Antonio Williams and Luke McCaffrey and Burks and Brown and Lane and Van Jefferson and somebody named Rivers Craycraft.
He played for the Dolphins about 6 years ago. Rivers Craycraft.
So some guy named Rivers Craycraft, okay?
World of Warcraft. Yes. And I looked at him when they signed him. I believe he's 32 years of age. 32 is the magic number. And I know he'd been around the NFL. At one point I thought, oh, he's got to be the special teams guy, right? That's the special teams guy. And then I went through his snap counts. I think he played 33 snaps of special teams. I'm not ripping this individual for pursuing his career, obviously, but this is who they're bringing in. It's not good. And I think the bottom line is we can talk about the Eagles until we're blue in the face, and we'll talk about the Eagles again on and off. We talk about the Giants, maybe we'll see them. Cowboys have a lot to talk about. We kind of know who they are. It's hard to talk about the Commanders right now as something serious.
Just a lot of unknowns. It's just a lot of older guys. How do they come together around a young stud, rising star quarterback? Yeah. And Jaden Daniels could be the difference maker. If he's healthy, he might be the difference between 1 or 2 wins, maybe more than that. I mean, we'll see. But we're going to see a lot over the next week or so on the training camp tour. We know what's coming up on the 2 Deep Zone.
Yes.
Looking forward to reading that tomorrow. I'm excited about it.
Yes, that comes up tomorrow. Now, what's your schedule? Because you have all this traveling to do.
Yeah. So Friday, we are locked into Latrobe. Saturday, we are in Owings Mills for the Baltimore Ravens.
Nice.
We will see about the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. And sometime in the next week to 10 days, you and I are heading up to East Rutherford as soon as we can nail down a date, time, and practice schedule.
You can't hardly wait. And like you said, there will be snapshots from camp. You'll have little newsletters. You'll be doing little videos. You'll be contacting me. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm a little busy right now. But maybe it'll work out. I'll try to keep some time free for you. Absolutely. And so people will be hearing from you at Between the Hashmarks constantly when you're on your road. You might do one of these things where you're holding up the camera while you're driving and eating a biscotti.
Well, what's great about the platform that BetweenTheHashmarks.com is currently on is we have an app and a community. So if you're a paid subscriber, go download the app, because my plan is when I stop at a convenience store and I stumble on a Nitro cold brew coffee, oh, look, I'm at Sheetz and I'm getting their Nitro. Here it is. Oh, it's a 8.2 out of 10, right? We'll be doing those sort of things. Or here's that chicken quesadilla that we talked about on the pod. Or here's me almost getting run over by Malik Washington, or, look at Roquan Smith. Look at this play he just made. We're going to have some exclusive stuff within the app. We're going to be dumping some stuff on YouTube at Matt Lombardo 975, Blue Sky, Matt Lombardo NFL, and of course, my good buddy Mike Tanier. You got to follow Mike on Blue Sky at Mike Tanier, and you have to subscribe to the 2 Deep Zone. It is appointment reading for me. I didn't know that it was possible to laugh as hard as I laughed at the bits within the analysis of the wide receiver position in Monday's walkthrough. It was tremendous. It was informative. It was funny. Great job by you. And I'm going to make sure that I have the alerts on so I don't miss a Keon Coleman subskeet from you.
If Keon Coleman does anything, it'll be out there. I will be skeeting away at it. And I'm glad you liked it. There's going to be a lot more jokes coming tomorrow. I get bored about 1/4 of the way through talking about the NFL, and I start talking about 1980s hair metal bands. So a little before your time, so it might be educational for you, but it'll be a trip down memory lane for a lot of us.
He's Mike Tanier. Follow him on Blue Sky at Mike Tanier. Subscribe to the 2 Deep Zone. And please go ahead and subscribe in the Apple Podcast Store, on iHeartRadio, on your Alexa app. Just say, hey, Alexa, play the Between the Hashmarks podcast. Subscribe. Leave us those 5-star ratings and reviews in Apple. They do help grow the show. We will read the 5-star reviews next episode as they come in. He's Mike Tanier. I'm Matt Lombardo. Hey, we'll talk to you later this week from the road.
Biscotti.